Andrey returned to his hometown. His trip ended at the train station, where he got off at the platform. The square of the station had changed. Now there was a fountain, and the flower beds covered the ground with bright flowers. The bus stop had been moved, and all this seemed new and unfamiliar to him. Having boarded the bus, he headed home, where a meeting with a neighbor was waiting for him. As always, Babalita was sitting on the bench. She nodded affably, but Andrey had no time to talk. He quickly entered the entrance and went up to his floor. Nadia opened the door, and he immediately noticed the changes in the apartment. It looked different than before. Nadia apologized for the lack of letters, explaining that she had met another man. Andrey's heart sank. He realized that Nadia had fallen in love and wanted to start a new life with a new chosen one. At that moment, the doorbell rang, and she disappeared to answer it. Nadia's new chosen one turned out to be a simple guy who offered to exchange the apartment and draw up a deed of gift for a room in a communal apartment. Andrey, holding back his emotions, agreed to the terms and left, feeling something cracking inside him. Coming to his parents, he felt the joy of their meeting. They were happy to see him and listened to his story about how he was released and about his plans for the future. His parents offered him to stay with them, but he decided that it was time to look for a job and build his life anew. Andrey looked at the room in the communal apartment that Nadia's new chosen one offered him. It was clean and cozy, with furniture and appliances, and despite the fact that it was not an ideal option, he agreed to the terms. In search of work, Andrey went to his former garage, but the mechanic did not want to hire him because of his criminal record. However, Andrey offered his services as a mechanic, and the mechanic agreed, giving him a chance. Soon after, his life changed dramatically again. He worked as a driver and got into an accident in which a person was injured. His boss, Petrovich, forced him to drive a faulty car, and when Andrey refused, he threatened to find another driver. On the way, due to broken brake lights, there was a collision, as a result of which the driver of the car was seriously injured, and Andrey himself again ended up behind bars. Andrey received a message from Boris that the deed of gift was ready, and now he could move. Andrey's parents helped him move his things, and soon he found himself in a new apartment. On the landing, his neighbor Olesia met him, offering to help. However, Andrey, being in the mood for independence, refused. Olesia, trying to start a conversation, flirted with him, but he remained cold and distanced himself. At night, when Andrey could not sleep, his attention was drawn to the singing from the neighboring window. The music evoked memories of his childhood, and he felt the urge to cry. After closing the window, he tried to sleep and had a dream about a girl with an envelope. The morning began with an alarm clock. Andrey woke up and started getting ready for his first day at work. When he went into the bathroom, he was met by a skinny girl with a turban made of a towel. She greeted him, and Andrey caught a familiar note in her voice. In the evening, finding himself in the kitchen again, he met the same girl. They recognized each other, and Andrey offered to cook dinner together. The girl, who introduced herself as Irina, agreed, and they agreed to meet at her place. Andrey came to Irina with a bottle of wine and snacks. She showed her room, which looked clean and minimalistic. Sitting down at the table, Irina began to tell her story. She told how her mother met a man who worked as a psychologist. Irina noticed oddities in his behavior and began to suspect him. When her mother fell ill, this man, according to Irina, began to help her. But she noticed more and more strange things in his actions. Andrey, listening to her, felt how closeness was developing between them and understood that life in a new place could bring not only trials, but also hope for something bright. Irina continued to tell Andrey about her suspicions. She noticed that the man who helped her mother looked at her strangely. What was especially alarming was that her mother began to talk about death, and this made Irina more and more suspicious. She shared with Andrey her thoughts that her mother could be under hypnosis. Andrey listened attentively and suggested continuing the conversation over dinner understanding how important it was for Irina to express her fears. The situation worsened when Ira called a doctor to the house, but her mother refused to be examined. At this time, Ira continued to meet with Stas, who soon proposed to her. Ira agreed, wanting to fulfill her mother's dream of a wedding. After the wedding, Ira moved into Stas's apartment. But the happiness was short-lived. 2 months later, her mother died, and the doctors named heart failure as the cause. This event greatly shocked Ira. After deregistering from her mother's apartment, she sold it and bought a new home, hoping to start life from scratch. However, soon after moving, Ira became pregnant and gave birth to a son, Artem. The happiness of motherhood was overshadowed by the fact that Ira began to get sick and lose weight, suspecting that this could be due to the actions of Uncle Misha. Having consulted a doctor, she found no evidence of artificial weight loss, but the anxiety did not leave her. Returning from the hospital, Ira learned that Stas had filed for divorce and taken their son. He accused her of mental instability and kicked her out of the apartment. Finding herself on the street, Ira found temporary housing and work, but her life began to seem hopeless. Working as a cashier, Ira planned to file a lawsuit to get her son back. She was able to gain weight and hoped to restore her health. But every time she met with Artem, Stas often refused to meet her, which added to her pain and loneliness. All this time, Irina continued to fight for her happiness and for her son, realizing that her life was full of trials, but she was ready to fight. Ira increasingly suspected that Uncle Misha was instilling thoughts of death in her mother under hypnosis. Moments when Misha hypnotized her as a teenager surfaced in her memory. These memories caused her anxiety and bewilderment. She understood that she could not lay claim to the apartment, since she had deregistered and gotten married, leaving everything in the past. Planning her actions, Ira thought about filing a lawsuit, but doubts tormented her. She dreamed of equipping a room for her son and contacting the guardianship authorities, hoping that this would help bring him back. Ira counted on the support of the owner of her room and was going to do some renovations to create a cozy space for Artyom. In a conversation with Andrey, Ira opened up, telling about her life and experiences. Andrey, in turn, shared his difficulties: an accident, prison, and divorce. Nadezhda, one of her acquaintances, also told about her miscarriage and problems in her marriage, creating an atmosphere of trust and understanding. When Irina sang a sad song, memories of the past began to emerge in Andrey's memory. He remembered how he met Irina as a child and noticed how much she had changed since then. He also remembered how she was in love with him, and this realization touched his heart. Andrey began to help Irina hang wallpaper in her room. They spent time together, laughing and working late into the night. Irina was grateful to him for his support and help, and a special trust arose between them. When the guardianship authorities came to check on Irina's living conditions, Andrey helped her with furniture for the child. They noted that Irina was diligently preparing for her son's return and approved of her work. At that moment, Irina felt hope that her dream of reuniting with Artyom could come true. Andrey, watching Irina, began to notice her beauty and inner strength. With each passing day, he fell in love with her more and more, and soon Irina admitted that she had always had feelings for him. This confession was unexpected and joyful for Andrey. However, all